Right, here we have an 08 KTM 450 with the separate engine oil and gearbox oil, which is an incredibly stupid idea. It doesn't have any advantages because it doesn't really matter. What they're trying to do is keep the clutch debris coming off the clutch material, trying to keep that out of the engine. But that's not really a problem. So the other problem is trying to separate those two compartments. Is there are seals everywhere that have to separate those two. There's a seal behind here in the balance shaft. There's a seal around this gasket here, which is pressurized oil going to the crankshaft. If that leaks there, you've got migration going from the engine to the gearbox. You've got also another seal here that can leak. There's a seal behind this gear, which is the main bearing crank seal, that can leak. There's a seal behind this gear, which is the main oil pressure seal, main oil pressure pump, that can leak out because the shafts sometimes get wobbly. That can leak out there. And that's about it. There's probably more, but I'm not going to go there. So what we're going to do is, I've figured out where we can drill a hole in the casing. So we join the sumps of the engine and the gearbox. And that happens to be, just get a 2mm drill bit, right there. In there, just behind that wall there, is the sump of the engine. The sump of the engine is actually pretty big. It goes all the way back to here, comes up, goes all the way up here, up there, and then down like this. And this is after the scavenge pump, which is on the other end of this shaft, has sucked all the air out of the windage tray of the crankcase, and then pumped it into the sump. Right, so what we're going to do is drill a hole. I don't give a shit because this engine's already half stuffed. It's got 365 hours on it, and I don't care if it's stuffed. So what we have now is the last ride. The gearbox oil migrated into the engine. The gearbox oil was probably about that full, and the engine oil topped up to over the fill point. So when I undid the fill plug, pissed out. That's how full it was. So that is still full. It's up to about there. So when I drill a hole through here, it's going to piss engine oil out of the sump and all over here, hopefully gushing all the swarf out. So here we go. Very exciting. Actually, I might get some compressed air in there right now and blow some of this shit out. So put this in the flat blade screwdriver. Pull this in there like that, and we might get a bit more shit out. Here we go. It's about to break through. This will piss engine oil everywhere. Coming through, coming through, coming through. I might have drilled a little bit too high. Let's go and look at the... Right, here we've got some cases on eBay. Where I just drilled is about right there. So that is below the shift barrel bearing and the clutch bearing. And about just below that hole there, which doesn't come through the other side, so the only thing that comes through the other side is that and that, so it's got to be at the same level as those two. So that, we're below here and we're there, so we've got to drill through this wall here, because all this area here is engine sump. There, and there is the feed, the suction that goes to the main oil pressure pump, which is just on behind there. So I want to drill a hole in that wall that's going to connect the engine sump with the gearbox and the clutch case, which is on the other side of this wall. And then we will have slow equalisation of both the gear oil and the engine oil, and there won't be any build up, any depletion of the gear oil going up into the engine. It'll equalise out, and there will generally be an oil level of about this high in the whole engine and gearbox together. It'll equalise whilst I'm riding. So I wonder where I am then. This is hard to figure out because there are no bolt holes coming from the other side into this side. So all we've got is that, and then we draw a line straight through there, and then we draw a line straight down from the shift barrel and the clutch in there somewhere. So let's keep drilling. Right, I think I'm going to continue with the original hole. I could do another one slightly lower there. And what I'd really like to do is catch the oil. Right, instead of all the shit. Right, let's just fucking continue, I don't care. I think I'm too high. I might be going into the end of a wall or a floor. I'm going to drill another one. So if I tip this over, find out where it comes from. So that hole there, which we just saw oil come out of, that is going straight into the crankcase, not the sump, because that's the bolt hole that they use to lock the engine into top dead center. Or lock the crank and the piston in top dead center. So that's directly into the crankcase. It's a small amount of oil because it's already been scavenged. Alright, how far in have I gone? Fuck, I've gone a long way. Right, fuck that, I'm going to draw another hole. It's got to be there. Shit, there it is, I did it. I did it, I can see the oil coming out. So now we're just going to get the swarf out, get rid of that. And then once we pull the drill bit out of here, the sump will drain into this clutch case. There it is. It's pissing. It's equalising. It's pissing out. So now what's happening is the engine sump is draining into this cavity and into this tin here. So that oil That first hole we were drilling was too high up because I was drilling into the end of a, where this is the wall I'm drilling, and there's another casting that comes like this, and I was drilling into this, so it's like a floor. So when I drill the second hole down here, I went into the sump. So what we've got to do now is see if the sump empties out. Right, here we are. Now this is part of the sump area. When I first undid this plug, it was about up to here. It was literally full. And it gushed out. And that's mainly the gearbox oil plus what is out of here. So what we've got to do is observe that oil level sinking. It'll sink over a while. Right, we'll come back later. Okay, so did 35 k's of enduro yesterday with the new gearbox mod, the equalising oil, common oil volumes there, and seemed to run alright. And this is after I had sitting overnight, and the gearbox oil level is just right. It's just tipped out there. Put this screw back in, and the oil level on the other side in the engine is also about right, but the level over here on the gearbox is about 4 centimeters higher as you measure it off the ground than the center of the window over there. So have a look at this side, and you see the engine oil. Where is it? There's in there, just as I pull it out. Where's that oil? Where is it? Let's see what's in here. Empty. Let's start it up, dead cold. So it's higher. I think it's full of oil in there. Can't see it.